Hello, everybody. Adam Bergman here, tax attorney and founder of IRA Financial. And on today's video, breaking potentially new updates to the new Corporate Transparency Act that could go live in January 1, 2024. So I wanted to come at you just with some breaking news on a bill that is passed the House and is heading to the Senate that could potentially delay the Corporate Transparency Act for companies formed before January 1, 2024 for a whole nother year. So if you have an entity that is not exempt, so a business, an LLC, corporation, C Corp, S Corp, partnership, LLC, single member or multiple member, that has less than 20 employees and $5 million in revenue and is not a charity essentially, technically under the CTA, the Corporate Transparency Act, you're going to have to report a beneficial ownership interest, a BOI report, by the end of 2024. Provide any individuals that own more than 25%, or any individuals that have substantial control over that entity to FinCEN. Okay, this bill, it's a bipartisan bill that was introduced by Rep. Zachary Nunn of Louisiana. He's a Republican. Part of the bill would extend these requirements one whole year until the end of 25. This bill, and also what this bill attempts to do is basically permanently extend for new companies formed in 24, 90 days instead of 30 days for filing the BOI with FinCEN if eligible, and also for amendments instead of being required to file amendments with 30 days of any changes in ownership or substantial, significant control over the entity within 30 days, that would be augmented to 90 days. This bill has passed the House almost unanimously. Only Rep. Thomas Massey of Kentucky, a Republican, who's always, voting very strangely on a lot of this stuff. Also, other legislation. He's kind of toots his own horn. So almost unanimous. It's at the Senate. The problem is, the Senate hasn't decided what they're going to do, if they're going to vote on it. They're supposed to be on vacation Friday. Today is kind of their last day in D.C. So if they don't vote on this thing and President Biden doesn't get to sign it, the CTA is going to go into effect January 24. And that means all entities that were established prior to January 1, 2024 will have the whole year, not 2 years, but one whole year to comply with FinCEN and complete a BOI requirement during that period. So we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed that they actually get this done. I'm not sure it's going to happen because we're getting up to the end date here. Members of Congress, senators, kind of going back to their states of residence to celebrate the holidays, New Year's. Not sure we're going to get anything done. I hope we are. It would be nice to get an extra year to prepare for businesses. It's assumed 32 to 35 million businesses will be impacted by the CTA. So this is massive. It's I've talked about this in the past. It's surprising there has been more attention. There's only one court case that I know of that was filed by the National Small Business Association in end of 22, basically challenging these reporting requirements for small businesses. They named Janet Yellen, Treasury Department, and FinCEN Acting Director Doss as defendants. It's still moving through the court, so I'm not sure what's going on with it, but you would expect there to be more headlines in national publications like the Wall Street Journal or other business publications on the CTA because it's going to impact 30 million plus businesses that are existing and close to 5 million new businesses a year. But you just haven't seen it for whatever reason. So hopefully the Senate will vote on this and extend this. The CTA was basically passed in 2020, but it wasn't supposed to go on the books until 2024. So it kind of just really rested in a dark room, and no one really talked about it until really this year. And it hasn't got the matter of attention I think it deserves because it's such a significant piece of legislation, probably the most moving in our lifetime that will impact small businesses from a reporting standpoint, other than a tax filing. This goes to FinCEN. It doesn't go to the IRS. So this is monumental. Is it a slippery slope? Is this something that is an overreach by the government? Possibly. We have to watch out where this leads, but it's just surprising that more watch groups, more small business trade groups have not filed cases, or really have not written opinion pieces in major publications like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, USA Today, Washington Post on this. It's been kind of tucked away, and it shouldn't be. This is pretty big stuff. And the important thing is you could potentially face penalties of up to $10,000 and potentially even 2 years in jail for a failure to comply. So this is pretty big stuff. Again, who's exempt? It's basically charities, banks, or any company that has more than $5 million of gross revenue plus 20 employees. So it's not an or, it's $5 million of revenue and 20 employees. It's not just providing information on the owners at more than 25%, the individuals. It's also someone who has substantial control. So someone who can make decisions for the business, their information will be required to be provided to FinCEN as well as this BOI report. Right now, it's 90 days for new businesses, although changes, amendments, 30 days. This new piece of legislation would increase that to 90 days. But for all companies, 30 plus million companies that are active, not dormant, and are expected to be required to comply with the BOI report under FinCEN, as of today, we only have a year to comply. This piece of legislation would give us an extra year, so 2 years to comply. I pray it passes the Senate and signed by the president, but we're dealing with holidays, and there's no guarantee. So thankfully for self-directed IRA, LLC, checkbook control clients that use an IRA or 401k to invest in an entity, even if the IRA or 401k owns 100% and is technically exempt, because an IRA or 401k is a tax exempt and exempt from FinCEN, there's still filing requirements due for the owner, for the manager, for the individual has substantial control over that entity, even though the IRA, the 401k is exempt as the owner, because the individual assumingly is the IRA owner or the 401k trustee of the LLC or corporation. A BOI report will still be required to be filed for that checkbook control structure. Even if it doesn't disclose the LLC IRA info, will disclose the information of the IRA owner or the 401k. This is done all in the background of fighting terrorism and fighting money laundering, which we all support, of course. But the question is this an overreach by the government? Potentially so. They have all this information. They can audit any business they want at any point. Do we really need to wrap it up in a bow and just kind of hand it to them? Is this a burden on small businesses? It's a one-time filing, but if there are changes in the business, like an address change or anything significant in terms of ownership or management, there would have to be an amended BOI report filed within 30 days, and the penalties, are super steep and pretty significant. So I'm again praying that this piece of legislation that was put forward by Rep. Zachary Nunn of Louisiana will get through, but no guarantee it happens. We'll know more in a couple days. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but we shall see what the deal is, and obviously I'll keep you in the loop. So to be continued, of course, but it's scary stuff. I mean, it's not scary in the sense that nothing's going to happen if you comply, but it's somewhat concerning, how the government's going to be able to do this. Now, sorry, I said he's a rep from Louisiana. He's a rep from Iowa. Sorry, I don't have my glasses. I saw it's IA, not LI. LA, excuse me. So he's a rep from Iowa, Zachary Nunn. But either way, it passed the House almost unanimously. It's going to the Senate. Hopefully it gets signed and extends it an extra year. But if not, we're going to have to comply with this. We will be in touch with our self-directed IRA and 401k clients. Don't worry. We won't leave you in the lurch. But this is serious stuff that we're not going to take lightly. And we're going to make sure that all our clients are compliant if they are required to do so based off their investment structure. Otherwise, this also applies to any personal businesses you own. Obviously, if it has less than $5 million in revenue and 20 employees, as long as it's not dormant, you're going to have to comply and file with FinCEN. That's just something it's going to have to be required to be done. So that's it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of fighting a cold. So I wanted to get it out there on this live because it's really important. Again, there's not a lot of information on the CTA out there. Something that's a piece of legislation that's going to impact 35 million or so companies and 5 million new companies a year. It's super surprising that there's not more chatter and not more information out there in terms of compliance and its impact. But it's not there. So I feel like it's my job to kind of put it out there. I'm praying that this piece of legislation by Rep. Nunn gets pushed forward and passed by the Senate. So it gives us an extra year up until the end of 25 to comply with the CTA. So for any entities that are required to comply prior to January 1st, 2025, it's going to be January 1st, 2026. So we'll have an extra 2 years. Instead of being forced to do this by December 31, 2024, we're going to have an extra year to December 31, 2025 for any entities with more than 5 million in revenue and 20 employees that are not tax exempt, filed before January 1, 2024. This piece of legislation will give us the extra year, but it hasn't passed the Senate and Biden hasn't signed it. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Otherwise, happy holidays. Wishing everyone a happy, healthy holiday, happy New Year. I'm not sure I'm going to go live next week. We'll see. I mean, if something pops and the Senate gets this done and President Biden signs the law, then of course I'm going to have to go live and share all that good news with you. If not, I'll probably go live at some point and let you know what the deal is. But another reason to subscribe to this channel, I think it's a great source for information on self-directed retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, alternative assets, and obviously current events in the tax and investment world. So that's it. I hope you get to spend a lot of time with loved ones, family, friends. Be safe, and have a great holiday, and to be continued. Thanks.